This is Gene DeLisio with a featured sports interview from WDLB and WOSQ. Jay Loos was among the top softball pitchers in central Wisconsin in the 1970s and 80s, pitching for the Stickerts Ball Club out of Chile. Jay also grew up in Chile and pitched for softball teams in central Wisconsin for almost 25 years. He was inducted into the Marshfield Area Baseball and Softball Hall of Fame in 2013.
Just ecstatic. Like I said, I got a phone call 6 months ago, and I have had a smile on my face since. Run into occasional people in a gas station, here, there, wherever, and they say congratulations, and you just go. So people do know. So yes, very, very happy.
Well, you had a wonderful career as a pitcher, softball player. How would you, first of all, characterize your talents, your abilities on the softball field?
Well, like we had heard, one of the Van de Hayes, I believe it said something to the effect of throwing balls against a wall, you know. I grew up in Chile. My mom and dad owned a bar. I'd stay out there till 1 in the morning throwing a tennis ball against the wall. And I was so scared of the dark that I would never let a ball get past me. I mean, I'd throw them as hard as I could at about 15 feet away from me. I was so scared of the dark behind me that balls would, and if a ball did get past me after like an hour of pounding it against the wall, I'd leave it there till the next day. Thank God there was only one ball that ever got past me. So I'd like to attribute that to, you know, reflexes as far as playing slow pitch softball, because the balls come fairly quick. I was lucky enough to catch most of them, but there's always some that get past you.
Tell us how you got started in slow pitch softball.
One of my best friends, John Stickert from Chile, come up to me one time. He says, "We should play slow pitch softball in a league out here in Chile. They just started up the league. We need some help getting some teams. What do you think?" Yeah, let's do that. You know, we got 10 or 12 guys, 14 years old, playing slow pitch softball in Chile. In Chile out there, that's all they did is just play slow pitch softball. There was 4 nights of it, and there was 300-400 people at the games. Nowadays, it's, you know, obviously filtered off, but a huge deal. So I mean, it was our night. I mean, we looked forward to every Thursday night playing slow pitch softball. And I think, you know, a friend of mine that I played with, he goes, "I don't know necessarily that you weren't that great an athlete, but your desire to be a great softball player was higher than I've ever seen anybody else." So that summed it up. I was kind of irritated with it, going, that good an athlete. I was good at a couple other sports, but yeah, I guess you're right. I wanted to be the best, the best softball player I could. So,
why do you feel you had that drive to excel so much in slow pitch softball, a game that, you know, some people think of as a recreational sport? They don't really sometimes take it that seriously. Why were you so driven to be so successful in that game?
Boy, you know, that'd be a good question. I mean, like my dad said, he goes, "I never seen a kid 13, 14 take such a liking to something where I never, you know, like I said, I grew up in a tavern in Chile, and my mom and dad, they'd be open till midnight, 1 o'clock. I'd be outside honing my skill, so to speak. I'd just stay out there, and I would just try to be so good at it. In slow pitch softball, you have a mat behind the plate. I went down to the softball diamond, I measured out the distance, and I put it in my front yard. And one of my friends came there and caught the ball all night. I would do it for hours, where I would just pitch a softball to that mat, and just endless, and just till got to a point where I could almost hit the mat with my eyes closed.
Had a great career. How about the pitching aspect? How did you take to pitching? Why did you decide that was the position you wanted to be in?
I think it got to a process of elimination on our team, to be honest. All the guys got together and, you know, like, hey, we're going to join a team. All of our friends, let's play slow pitch softball in the league. Does anybody know how to pitch? So one of them deals, you know, all the other guys were just horrendous. I go, I'll try it. What do you got to do, you know? And I played baseball all through grade school, high school. Different throwing motion, obviously. Played outfield in baseball. Come down to a process of elimination. Whoever can hit that little mat behind the plate, you're in. You know, and ever since I was probably 13 years old, and I played slow pitch softball till I was 37, so 24 years of it. That's all I did.
And you were pretty good at it. What made you a pretty good softball pitcher?
Like going back to the desire thing, just to be better, and it was nonstop practice. It was we'd get I heard some of the the Vandehays get together where we'd get 6 guys and we'd go in a vehicle and we'd go, well, in Chile the population's 200. You could yell through the town, hey, we're playing slow pitch softball today at the Ball Diamond. Who wants to play? 15 kids would show up, and we would play from 9 in the morning till 7, 8 at night all summer, and that's all I did. So I'd like to think playing a lot, you got to get good at it if you want to. Like Lenny Schreiner had said, if you're not playing with good friends, it's probably not going to be as much fun, or you're not going to be as good at it. I played with my best friends growing up, grade school, high school. They were my best friends, so it was another night for 12 of us to get together. So two birds got killed with one stone. We're all together as friends, and we enjoyed, like I said, I looked forward to it every week.
Jay, you came through that period, the 70s, 80s, when softball made a big run, and maybe at the expense somewhat of baseball, but what was it that made softball so popular to your generation?
Honestly, I don't know if there was people that maybe weren't good enough to play baseball, or not as driven as the people are nowadays. I don't know. Softball's obviously easier to hit than a baseball. I know the guys that I played slow pitch softball with weren't very good baseball players. Maybe they said, well, this is another, I'm not good enough to make that team, I'll try slow pitch softball. Why that era? Obviously it's not anymore. Back in my era, I played 4 nights a week, in a different town. Kids nowadays obviously are not doing that, but my daughters are 19 and 16. They never played a lick of softball, fast pitch, nothing in high school. I don't know. I would have sure thought one of them would have taken a liking to it. They both despised it. So I just kind of wonder if they weren't as driven or not as good at baseball, that this is a fallback. Maybe I can do this and do it at a fairly high level. I don't know.
There was a lot of talk tonight about your defensive prowess as a pitcher. Tell us about that aspect of your game as well.
I think a lot of it was fear, to be honest. I'm afraid of getting hit. The balls come back fairly quick, and you either get out of the way or you catch it. You got 2 choices, or you get hit. And like I said, I probably attribute it to standing outside of my mom and dad's tavern and just throwing a tennis ball against the wall for hours, and reflexes got fairly quick. And I still laugh to this day when we were playing in a tournament. Guys are like, boy, not too much gets past you. I go, it's because I'm afraid it's dark behind me, and nobody ever, all the guys on my team knew the joke. Guys against me, they're like, what? And I go, wrong story. But maybe I would attribute it to that, I'm thinking.
The years you played softball, did you see a lot of emphasis on the defensive end? It's not something I think the casual fan really thinks about in that game. But you played on some great ball clubs, which I'm sure did have some very good defenders, including yourself. How much of that was emphasized in the game back in your era?
On a slow pitch softball team, you got 10 guys. I know on our team, I said, we won a lot more games than we lost. I would say, let's go with an average. There was about 3 or 4 guys on our team that could care less about defense. They were there to, how far can I hit a slow pitch softball? The other 6 or 7, I'm not very good at hitting. If I want to stay on the team with my friends, I better get good at defense. So I was lucky enough to. I think the hitting part was natural. I didn't have to work real hard at that. The defensive thing, like I said, my story about pounding a tennis ball against the wall, that made me a lot better defender. The hitting, I always enjoyed hitting, so I had not a real issue with hitting. I'd say above average talent-wise hitting without much work.
We didn't talk too much about your hitting. We talked about your pitching and defense, but as a hitter, what kind of a ball player were you? We always bat I batted leadoff. The kind of guy that, in slow pitch softball, you got your 1 and 2 guys that kind of, so to speak, set the table, that kind of thing. 3, 4, 5, 6, them guys are there to hit fly balls, long ones.
So I learned at an early age. I was left-handed, slap it around, where they're not, just a dink and dunk kind of person, I guess. Usually catch them off guard, that kind of thing. And I got on a lot more than I made outs. Never was I could hit a few home runs, not a lot, but I was there just to get to first base. I used to get the biggest kick out of walking. After a while, our team got a reputation, and they knew when they played Stickards, you're going to have to score 35, 40 runs to win. And when they walked me, or the guys behind me started hitting home runs, they were disgusted. And I just used to, the biggest kick was getting walked, and I would just laugh and I go, probably not a good idea, knowing what's coming, but.
Well, tell us about some of those guys you played with during that era.
After tonight's festivities, I've been asked to join the softball committee, part of it, by Tim Krause, and I said gladly I would love to, because I would like to recognize guys that played on my team in the late 80s, early 90s, because if it weren't for them, I certainly wouldn't be here. So, there's a couple. We had a couple, Dean and Dave Hinker out of Greenwood, probably some of the nicest guys. They were here tonight. Some of the nicest guys I've ever seen. Great softball players, and we like Tim had alerted to, in his talking about myself, he said if they couldn't beat Stickards, they joined them. These were guys that were from Greenwood, so they were kind of on the outside of the Chile thing. But we need to get some. These guys want to play for us. I don't know, maybe they got tired of getting beat. I'm not sure, but we joined and it worked out really well. We got Mike Hackle, probably one of the best shortstops I've ever played with. I'd like to see him get recognized in this elite Hall of Fame thing in the near future. Todd Howard, not only is my cousin, but he's just a great softball player. I know his kids. I know his kid Bo real well, and I'm sure you've announced your WDLB nonstop of his 3 sports that he's. His dad's equally as talented. Obviously, you got to get the talent from somewhere. But those are like 4 or 5 people that I'd like to see recognized in this club, in this Hall of Fame, because, like I said, without them, I'm not here.
You played on that Stickards Ball Club, which was an outstanding team for so many years. Tell us about the attitude on that ball club. What kind of attitude did you guys have during the course of the season, going into games, going into tournaments, because of the great success you had had?
Probably the one of the Van Hayes that alluded to with the small town farm boy thing. We would go to slow pitch softball tournaments in Stevens Point, getting laughed at. Who are these kids from Chile? And I think it just motivated all of us to just go, we're going to show you who the Chile farm boys are. One of them, I think it was always an underdog mentality. We went to some tournaments in Minneapolis, some Milwaukee, where they're like, Chile, where is Chile? And after the weekend was over, sometimes they knew where Chile was. And we used to, our trademark was we had talk about the Wildcat in days, and I remember I was 9, 10 watching them play slow pitch softball with their god awful uniforms. We had brown and yellow uniforms. We got laughed at. And people go, I'll tell you what, you're going to remember brown and yellow. And they did. That's one guy, we played in a tournament in Prentice one night, and we beat a team fairly bad. And they're like, oh my God, we just got beat by the San Diego Padres. He goes, those are the most hideous uniforms I've ever seen. But I think, like I said, a small town mentality where underdog, it's like, okay, we got some Chile boys. Granted, after the years, we added a few players but still outlying areas. Greenwood, Mike Hackle, one of our best players, was from Dorchester, where you just play in the surrounding areas. But I'd like to think after 20 years, 15, 20 years, they know where Chile is, so.
Jay, anything else about your softball career, the Hall of Fame, that you'd like to talk about?
No, I think you talked me out, Gene. I'm pretty good, but like I said, it's just a huge honor. And with you, I said I've listened to Gene DeLisio for years. I don't think I've ever met you before tonight, but you're the only one that got my name right. So there you go. Everybody always says Jay Loos. I always tell them, it used to be von Loos. It's German, so they dropped the von. It's Loos. Gene got it right, so thank you very much for that.
Central Wisconsin softball standout Jay Loos inducted into the Marshfield Area Baseball and Softball Hall of Fame in 2013. This is Gene DeLisio reporting.